It's coming up on my annual rewatch for ToraDora, and I'm once again faced with the one thing that makes me hesitate every time. Don't get me wrong, I am thoroughly in love with the show. Teen angst, love, loss, and loneliness. I eat that stuff up like it's candy. It's something that I've always been able to appreciate. That being said, there is one character in particular that has bugged me the last few times I watched the show. The first time or two I watched the show, it was Ami. Her duplicity was off-putting. But I found that's not the character I have a noticeably split opinion on. Minorin is, for lack of a better term, an idiot. Or at least that's what I want to say. The first time I saw the show, I was more enamored with her character than anything else. The one character that seemed to have their stuff figured out. And I think part of that feeling came from the idea that I was seeing her from the point of view of Rayuji. She knew what she wanted. She was a go-getter, working multiple part-time jobs. He saw her as a beam of pure joy and beauty in a world that only saw him as a thug, simply for looking a certain way. Which in itself is stupid, but that's a topic for a different video. Tell me in the comments if you want me to make a series of videos on the ToraDora characters. And I think that's part of the reason he fell in love with her. She was something more. But as we know, if something seems like it's amazing, there's probably a few hidden caveats in there somewhere that aren't so great. And that comes down to the fact that Minorin is about as socially forward as Boa Hancock looking down upon others. An example of this is the summer break arc in which they go to Ami's country villa. She has more than one chance to explain her reciprocated crush on Rayuji, but instead decides to backhandedly say that she doesn't believe in Ryuji's feelings unless he acts upon them, while entirely ignoring the idea that she could be the first one to act upon her own. It's so frustrating seeing the fact that she knows of Ryuji's feelings for her, but she herself isn't willing to be open about her own. I understand it might not be culturally acceptable in some places for women to be the more forward party, but that in itself doesn't hold much weight in this case. It just doesn't make sense to me. She knows his feelings. She knows her own feelings. They tell each other they like each other, and boom. Story done. Not feeding into the narrative is the only reason she can't confess. And while that's technically a fault of the writers, I still have to attribute it to the fact that it makes Minorin a complicated character at worst. Another point of contention that I have for her character is her willingness to be self-sacrificial to the point of destroying herself. She fights so hard to make Taiga happy that she doesn't do anything to try to make herself happy, and then at the end of the series she yells that she's going to make her own happiness? And while I would normally find that to be an incredibly mature and profound way of expressing one's own feelings, I can't help but feel like it's marred by the fact that she was unwilling to do so earlier in the series with Rayuji, when she had plenty of chances. She's literally had a walking and talking example of exactly what she wanted, but because Rayuji wasn't willing to act upon those feelings himself, it wasn't enough? Now, you could argue that by Rayuji not getting the hints that it was confirmation for Minorin that he didn't actually feel that way for her. That is a fair argument, and the reason that I am so conflicted about her character. She's more than willing to chase after the happiness of, and for, others, but isn't willing to do the same for herself. I don't know, that kind of people-pleasing mentality doesn't really sit well with me. Why make her such an outgoing and down-to-earth character only to have her be wishy-washy when the exact thing she was hoping for would happen, happened? To just throw away that chance on the off chance that Taiga was in love with Rayuji. I'm sorry, but this decision was made near the beginning of the series, so even that doesn't really hold much water. At that point, during the summer break arc, Taiga still had a similar crush on Kitamura to what Rayuji had on Minorin. There wasn't even an inkling of the budding relationship between Taiga and Rayuji at the time. Their relationship was still entirely reliant on helping each other get their respective crushes to notice and act upon their feelings. It isn't even until Christmas Eve arc that Minorin is able to confirm Taiga's feelings for Rayuji with certainty, and she just throws away her own feelings for Rayuji once more. But before we get to that, I want to tackle what is the most metaphorically cheesy and awkward part of the series. When the ball crashes into the tree and shatters the star, it isn't simply just that. To me, it represents the feelings of both Ryuji's crush on Minorin and Taiga's growing feelings for Rayuji. While Rayuji is willing to work to fix the broken star to attempt to reconstitute what was there before, a shining star, Minorin tells him that even if he can find all the pieces, it will never be the same. That time can't be turned back and you can't fix something that is now gone. But Ryuji doesn't accept that, saying that even if it isn't the same, it can still find ways to shine. That the feelings and memories don't simply fade because time has changed things and the world around them. But Minorin is so consumed with the guilt that she might destroy Taiga's budding happiness, she can't help but clash with Ryuji's continued attempts to show that things can be okay. Their ideologies are so counter to one another, there is no recourse. And again, a lot of this comes down to Minorin's unwillingness to reach out for anything that would make her happy, just so she doesn't possibly destroy the happiness that someone else might be reaching out for. To me, it is at the same time one of the most selfless and selfish things someone can do. In the same breath, she is fighting to protect the feelings of Taiga, while disregarding Ryuji's feelings. I just can't reconcile this hypocrisy in her character, which makes me both love and hate her. She has the chance at happiness on multiple occasions, but won't reach for it first because Rayuji was exactly what you would expect a teenager boy to be. Shy and flustered when it comes to said crush. I know, it can also be argued that teenagers can be a bit irrational about their expectations of love and romance, but there's a point that even I'm a little unwilling to let it slide. I'm left feeling a little uneasy on whether I dislike her as a person or as a character. And in the writer's defense, I think that is an absolutely wonderful way to portray a character. Don't get me wrong, while I personally dislike her, that at least partially comes from who I am as a person myself. Being direct about things, especially my feelings, is something that I've had deeply ingrained in me. So while I think her character is interesting, I can't help but feel like she is deeply flawed. And who knows? Maybe that's why I can't quite make up my mind on her character. What are your thoughts on her? Do you agree, disagree, or are you somewhere in the middle? Let me know down in the comments below. And if you wouldn't mind, while you're down there, please hit that like button and subscribe if you haven't already. That's going to be all from me for now. Have a great day, my dudes.